Addicted to Winning podcast. Hear from successful people who have leveled up with everything stacked against them. In their lives, they've not let anything stop them. They've either won or learned from everything they've taken on. This is what you will learn from this podcast. Never give up. Become addicted to winning, and it will change your life. Welcome to the Addicted to Winning podcast.
All right, Addicted to Winning podcast listeners, I have got a doozy for you today. If you are into either franchising or investing or want some passive income and you want district managers and all that good stuff, this thing is like the hottest franchise ever that's coming to you. So I'd like to welcome Bennett Maxwell, owner, president of Dirty Dough Cookies. Is that correct, Bennett?
Yeah, I appreciate it. That was a great intro.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. We just came off of a weekend in Dallas together. There were some pretty awesome speakers there, whether it's Ed Milet or Bobby Castro, David Goggins, Eric Thomas. Man, it was star-studded. But one of the things that I love about those weekends and our trips to Dallas is meeting really cool people like you and the people that are in our group. So I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, it was a great event. Yeah, no, those networking events are priceless.
Absolutely, 100%. Get right in. So the first question that I normally ask my podcast guests is Addicted to Winning. You know, welcome to Addicted to Winning podcast. But what does that mean to you, right? Like everybody gets knocked down, but it's all about how you get up, and I get up quicker, better, stronger, because they all are learning lessons in life. And I've been on hockey teams, baseball teams, but I haven't played softball. But it really is like it is an addiction. And that's why my logo is like mountains, right? And once you get to that next level, you know, you appreciate that level. And then all of a sudden you got to go through a couple of valleys before you get even higher yet. So what does Addicted to Winning mean to you?
So some people just have this innate drive. And I guess that's, they're seeking that dopamine reward from achieving a goal. You know, so some people have it more than others. And anyways, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like anything I jump into, I'm definitely addicted to that feeling of accomplishment, of reaching that goal, of trying to be the top in what I'm doing. So anyways, just really having that drive, I guess, to win.
Have you
that
always
competitive
had that
nature?
drive?
I think so. I played a ton of sports and very competitive in all the sports. So any try to do, I just put my whole heart and soul into it or whatever. I guess I want to win. Or I want to achieve that goal, but in a wide, you know, whether it's a career-based or family-based or sports, religion thing, you know, like all of that is just like, if I'm going to do something, it's going to be all in because I want to be the best.
Absolutely. Before we get into what you're doing now and all the franchising, and man, you've had some unbelievable sales in franchising in the last 6 months, which is amazing. And we're going to definitely get into that. Where are you from? What did you know, you didn't start in restaurants. Where did you get your cut your teeth in as far as business goes?
So I'm from Utah, born and raised in Utah. It's a very entrepreneur state. There's a lot of people that own their own businesses and it's very sales heavy. So the door-to-door world specifically, like this is the capital for sure of the world. All of the largest sales companies, door-to-door, they're based out of Utah. Multi-level marketing as well, network marketing, MLM companies, all of them, I swear. There's so many of them here in Utah. So everybody kind of wants to be their own boss. It was a great environment to grow up in and see. I was selling candy in elementary. I was selling door-to-door lawn aeration in junior high / middle school. In high school, I was knocking doors, selling cookie dough to be able to fund the sports that I was in and the discount cards. So I did football, wrestling, and rugby, and you had to sell something in all of them you can pay. It wasn't the best option for me, so I went and sold. I cold knocked businesses to go see if they would sponsor throw up a banner, and I sold it. So awesome. it was kind of just like here it is, you know, different opportunities, just go figure it out. But lemonade stands, shaved ice stands on the corner when I was little, and then I jumped into Cutco knives. Learned about that. I served a 2-year Mormon or LDS mission. That's why I think all this comes from. They send you out for 2 years in a foreign country. You have to learn whatever language, and then you come back. You're primed for door knocking. So then there's all these companies that just recruit you. So I started in pest control, did a lot of sales, you know, a lot of recruiting as well, led teams, and then jumped into satellite, AT&T, jumped into Vivint, security systems, smart home systems. And then I landed at solar, loved solar, did it for a few months, ended up wanting to start my own solar company. So I teamed up with my brother. All of this is 1099 contractor base, so yeah, you're working for another company. It's kind of an entrepreneur type deal. You're an entrepreneur inside of another realm. All your recruiting, it's all override, 100% commission based. So I was kind of going that direction. And then when I teamed up with my brother, we actually started a sales and marketing solar company out of San Diego. I learned a lot doing that. 18 months after we started it, we ended up selling it. And that's when I jumped into cookies. So food and franchising is still pretty new to me. I don't have a ton of experience. So I've had to go elsewhere to find really high talent for both our executive team and our advisory board. But that's kind of my background. Lots of sales, lots of hustling, jumping into a company. I guess I got lucky because I was able to sell it pretty quick. And then now I'm taking off with this cookie stuff.
That's awesome. I love that background, to be honest with you, because when you were saying, when you were in sports and grade school and selling candy and bars and cookie dough and all that good stuff, there's so many people out there that will just write the check, and they're not teaching their son or daughter anything about life except just write the damn check. You had to work for it. I remember I sold a lot of candy bars for hockey and stuff, but without having that background, you're not where you are right now.
It's much different. Once you go get your teeth knocked in, going door to door, then you're like, I could take a no. I could take 100 no's a day and I'm fine. Like yep. It's difficult mentally, and then you kind of just build up a resiliency to the word no. And then it allows you to take a little bit more risks, right? Because you're not scared of if it doesn't work out, because you can always improve and go knock the next door, right? You can always go find another person. So that mentality is definitely super, super important. And I'm very grateful that I was able to learn that.
Yeah, you started writing your script and feeling out your script and how it's going to play out on the next sale, right? And then if that didn't work out, it's like, all right, I'm going to say something just a little bit differently. I mean, you started that early. So I appreciate you saying that, because there's so many people that just let their kids off, and man, you shouldn't be doing that. So that's a life skill that you might be taking away from them by writing that check.
No, 100% agree.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting that you sold cookies back then, because now when you sold your solar company, you did some things or wanted to get into a cookie company, didn't do that, but now you went into something different. So you want to go through that?
Yeah. So I was selling cookie dough, like bins of cookie dough. That's how both wrestling and rugby, that's what we sold. And I'd always sell the most out of anybody on my team because I didn't put up any money. It was all through the sales. Yeah. So it's about 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago, I was looking at buying a Crumble franchise. It's an incredible model, incredible franchise. And it was pretty new. They serve these big, giant, delicious cookies. And every week they have brand new flavors. I'm like, that's a really cool concept. So I was very interested in that, but their model was owner operated. So I looked at, like, Chick-fil-A does that as well. Great brand. Who doesn't love Chick-fil-A? Who wants to buy a Chick-fil-A franchise and have that be your full-time job? Like, that's buying a job, which is fine. That's just not what I was looking for. Literally, my answer was something along the lines of, well, no, I don't want cookies. I don't want cookies to be my career, basically. So I ended up going in and doing solar instead, kind of doing that door-to-door stuff. And then one thing led to another. And I ended up, there was this small cookie company out of Arizona, delivery only. And he was looking for some investment money to, go from delivery only to storefront. And I'm like, that's my investment strategy. I'm going to give this guy some money. I'm not going to talk with him, basically. And he's going to go see if he can get me a return on it. But that's what I was looking for in a Crumble franchise. They didn't offer that. So I ended up giving this guy some money. He opened up the first store. Then I wanted to franchise it. I wanted to be his first franchisee. He wasn't super interested in that. He was just wanting to exit completely. So I ended up buying the company from him in January of last year.
That's interesting that it was only like delivery only and not like eat in or, just go in like at a mall and get a bucket of cookies or whatever.
He was out of his apartment. He was ASU, Arizona State University, the most ghetto apartment. I mean, you open up that oven where the cookies were being made and you felt like the thing was going to fall off every single time, like that, the oven door, because it was just like so rickety. Anyways, so he was like, I need to get out of here.
Did he have a commercial kitchen and a commercial like oven in his apartment?
No, he was just baking them out of his oven. Just your standard like $800 a month apartment and ASU for poor students. And he was running his business out of there, and he was selling out like every night.
Wow.
And he would just do chocolate chip cookies at first. So
That's
anyways, I was interested in cookies because of this, looking into this other franchise, Crumble, several years ago. And then I got into it kind of, again, just passive investment. And then the opportunity came to buy it. And I thought to myself, well, I'm running a solar company in San Diego, and this is a one store location in Tempe, and I've never worked in food. Well, if I could prove this model, that's the model that I was looking for when I was trying to buy Crumble, right? I'm a business owner. I want a relatively passive investment, and see if I could run it out of state. So I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to see if this model works. If I could do it, I think most people could do it. That's how I went into it. This is a good opportunity to kind of prove if it works or if it doesn't work. Ended up working. I mean, I'm telling you, I know nothing about food. I've still to this day never mixed cookies. I've never mixed a batch of cookies. It's simple, and you just need to learn how to run a business and then hire the right people that, can follow a recipe.
What you just said is, you don't know you didn't know anything about food, the business, franchising, anything like that. To be honest with you, if you have a passion for growing something, and if you have faith in yourself, you can do anything that you want, right? I got into 13 years ago now, when I got into insurance, like the only thing I knew about insurance was how to write a premium check out and hope to damn God that they were there for me when I needed them, right? Like that's it. But now I just jumped in and started selling. Boom, all of a sudden, I got 44 people underneath me, and we're selling in 46 states. So, and now an HR company to boot. So, it's just one of those things where if you have faith in yourself, like you can do anything that you want. So how many franchises do you have currently sold? And we're going to take a break here shortly, but currently have sold and open, and then we'll come back from the break and talk about it.
So none of them have been open. We have 5 opening this month and a total of 65 stores sold. So we'll open up 5 this month, and then we have 60 more to go. And really, we're just scratching the surface on what our sales are at. So we have quite a few more up in the pipeline.
That is amazing. I want to really talk about that a little bit more. Let's take a quick break, and we'll get into that right after. Hey, everybody, as a small business owner, we know that there's only so much time that you have to do all the tasks that you have on your plate. We know you're wearing 50 different hats or more. Do you find yourself pushing off important areas like human resources? Nobody at all likes compliance. And if you do, there's therapy for you. However, onboarding, termination, disciplinary actions, updating your employee handbook, your policies, procedures to protect your company. This is what Iconic HR does, and we're proud to be the new sponsor of Addicted to Winning. Whether you're growing or downsizing, we're here to help you and your company. We bring professional HR services to your company at a fraction of the cost. So, do you want a professional HR staff, a trained staff at your services that you're not paying payroll taxes for, you're not paying benefits on? We do that. Do you want recruiting help? We've recruited thousands of people across the whole country. We do this. Do you need the right background checks completed, or are you even doing background checks? If not, you should be, and we do that as well. Do you do exit interviews? If you're not doing this, again, it's a phenomenal opportunity to learn about what's going on internally that you may not understand or realize that's going on. We can do that for you. We're going to get a lot more information out of these people leaving your company as a third party than you will as the owner of the company. If you have any HR service needs at all, or you're downsizing and you want to have a professional HR staff at a fraction of the cost, give us a shout. Look us up online, My Iconic HR, and we're here to help you. Back to Addicted to Winning. We're sitting here. You've got 65 franchises sold. 5 are going to open in the next 30 days or so. That is amazing. And you literally have owned this business how long?
Just under 18 months.
So you put in that 18 months, you had the franchise put processes, personnel, procedures in place, and now you've sold 65.
Yeah. So the first 6 months, I was still running my solar company. So I was doing this kind of on the side, not knowing what I wanted to do with it. And then just little by little, I'm like, yeah, actually, there's some big potential. So I sold my solar company last June, so a year ago from this month. And that's when I jumped in full time. And it was, okay, how are we going to make this even more simple. And basically it was waste and labor. That's what we were dealing with. Every single store and, these other competitors, including us, you're ordering your own raw ingredients, and then you have your own equipment. You have to measure everything. You have to do your own quality control. Then you have to mix it. Then you're grabbing the raw dough and putting it on a scale, and you put little pieces of dough till it weighs just right. Then you grab it off the scale. You're going to form it by hand. You're going to put it in the cooler until it's ready to be baked. So that was the model. And you have lots of waste and lots of labor in that model. So I was like, okay, well, how can we fix that? Well, what if we centralize everything? We just have one giant facility that produces all the cookies. Well, that's going to get our cost of goods down a ton, because now I can bulk order. I get a 10, 15% discount for bulk ordering a truckload rather than a 50-pound bag of flour. And now I don't have to go through a third-party distributor, another 10, 15% off. Now I can make 700 cookies at a time rather than 70. And now I can use a machine to accurately portion everything. So there's no more labor, and there's also no more human error in, oh, that cookie doesn't weigh enough, And then what we can do from there is ship these dough pucks out, pre-portioned to each franchisee. So now the franchisees, all they have to do is pop them in the oven. So the labor is less than half, way less than half of what it is before, but your build out cost is less. Your square footage is less because now you don't have to store all your raw ingredients. Now there's no more raw ingredients for you to waste in case you mess up. There's no more mixing the dough and wasting that because your employees messed up because you're hiring teenagers, right? It just solved a lot of these problems. So now we can open up these stores for food franchise, like one of the lowest costing. And then your ongoing costs are also very, very low. So I just wanted to build a really robust model that can hopefully be around for 40 years, just like Mrs. Fields has been around for 40 years.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask you is, like, you had mentioned one other franchise. What else is out there? And they're all in the older model, quote unquote model, correct?
Yeah. So Mrs. Fields has been around for 40 years. They do centralized production and they ship out these dough pucks. So like, how do you last? How did you get through COVID and 2008 and the .com crash? Well, you have a good model that only requires 1 or 2 employees, small square footage, small overhead. So like, that's the model that I wanted to copy. But then you have on the other end, you have Crumble that doesn't do all that, but their sales are twice that of Mrs. Fields or 3 times that, because they do these large gourmet cookies and every week it's brand new flavors and they have hundreds of different recipes and they're crazy and they're cool and they're fun. So it was kind of looking at the 2 models. Well, can we have a big giant gourmet cookie weekly rotating and have a very efficient back-end model? And I'm like, I think we could do it. We just have to find a special machine that allows us to produce a cookie that's 1/3 of a pound. And this machine is really cool. We actually have the world's only 3-layer cookie. So a 3-layer cookie means you look at it and it looks like a peanut butter cookie. It's got peanut butter dough. You break it open and then there's chocolate dough in the middle. And in the very center, there's Reese's peanut butter. So there's 3 different flavors all built into a cookie, pre-manufactured before it was even shipped to your store. So very unique product, high quality control. But again, all of that, the headache of running the store, most of it is done by corporate. So that's kind of the model.
Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking 1/3 of a pound, like that's a big cookie.
It's a big cookie. Yeah. 5.5 ounces. So just over 1/3 of a pound.
You've got, so the first store is still, is it a brick and mortar store now that you made it from Tempe?
Yes.
Okay. And how many, how many cookies are you doing a day out of that approximately? I know you
probably around like 500 cookies.
Okay. That's an awesome deal, man, because we had said offline before we even booked the podcast that you've got people that are actually doing some trailers, right? For food truck trailers, events and fairs and all that good stuff. Out of the 65, how many are going to be brick and mortar and how many are going to be maybe mobile, if that's the word?
Yeah. So 4 and 61. So 4 mobiles and 61 brick and mortar. So we just did our mobile a few weeks ago and we had 4 people that wanted to jump on that real quick. So the mobile is it's typically a good add-on to your retail location, because then, your retail locations acts as your commissary kitchen. You can store everything there. Then you just pick up stuff. So your mobile trailer, you buy it once and you're done, or you lease it, right? There's no reoccurring cost really. It's just right. Your product, your packaging. There's no lease payments. It's just very, very low costing. And then you just go hit up these events that are highly populated. So I got sold on the idea when I saw that. I went to a USC football game in LA and they had this little trailer there. They had 2 of them there actually. And the line was so long, I couldn't even try the cookies. And it was
That's
just
awesome.
one mini kind of burnt chocolate chip cookie. And in my opinion, it wasn't a great branding or anything. Anyways, I tracked them down after, and they did $23,000 in sales in under 3 hours. And I'm like,
Wow.
what? They're like, yeah, it's great. So anyways, we're excited about the mobile one, but right now, most everything is brick and mortar, but we're excited that the mobile trailer should be up and running in about, I don't know, probably mid-July.
That's awesome. So when a couple questions I've got now, they're all just running through my head. You started off this conversation by saying you wanted to look for something that was more passive income, and so that you don't have to buy yourself a job, right? Of the 65, how many, I guess, owners are there out of that 65? Are you having one-offs, or are you selling 5 at a time, 10 at a time? Like, what do you?
Most of them I've bought multiple, so 5 or 3 or 6 or 10 or 12. And obviously, if you're buying 12, like you can't run 12 stores, right? Most people are buying them and having somebody else run the store, and they're looking at it. So all of our modeling includes a full-time manager. So it's like, hey, your labor is going to be X percentage. Well, that includes you paying a manager full-time at 45,000 or 50,000, whatever, right? You can kind of plug in the numbers. Where these owner operated models, typically when you see their bottom, their net, that's because they didn't have to hire a manager, because they are the manager. So in my mind, that's not the true net, right? Because a true business has to run without you in it. So what is your net if you had to replace yourself? And that's your true net. And that's what all of our models are looking at.
That's awesome that everything is in the package and in the bottom line, because like you said, so many people that are in franchises, they don't put managers, if they got to pay, say it's $80,000 or $90,000 with benefits and all that good stuff, right? Like you have to put that in there. Otherwise, like, you're getting into a mousetrap. Are all these 65, or are you starting on the East Coast, West Coast, South? Like, and then is there a plan? Like, what's your overall goal and where do you see this, say, in a year or 2 years?
Yeah. So we all in kind of Wasatch Front, Utah, Idaho, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Colorado. We've had dozens, maybe 100 inquiries on other states. A lot of it is just we have to file and register for those states. So Texas, we've had dozens of inquiries, and we're going to start selling those probably here in the next week or two. Same thing with Florida, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. Those are the ones that we have sales in, that we're just in the filing process. And as soon as we file, then, nothing's signed till it's signed, right? We should have a lot of stores opening right after those filings get approved.
That's awesome. 65 sold, 5 are opening. Do you want to do like 5 or 10, or like, obviously you're starting low?
We'll do about 5 a month.
Yeah.
So we're going to do these first 5. We're not going to open anymore for about 2 months. We're starting construction immediately on 12 stores after these first 5. And just to kind of give us a little breathing room, we're a startup and we're going to make mistakes. So let's work out those kinks before the next wave of stores open up. You jump into a startup and there's pros of, it's brand new. You typically get better pricing. You get the most importantly, you get the best areas. But on the contrary, you have to roll with the punches, because there's going to be some punches with the new brand. And fortunately, we've been able to avoid a lot of those by hiring. I hired a CEO in December that started a company called Maui Wowie Smoothies and Coffee. It was the first ever mobile franchise to exist worldwide. She grew it to just under 700 locations, and then she sold it, took another company from 0 to 90 in just a few years. So saying I'm not the expert on franchising, Jill is an expert, and she's our CEO. Eric Van Horn has the largest franchise podcast, Franchise Secrets. Just today I spoke with somebody. He's like, I've listened to your podcast on the Franchise Secret podcast twice. I want a dirty dough. A lot of that. So he's on our advisory board. Steve Hart owns Property Management Inc., largest property management franchise, over 400 active franchises, puts on another 10 in operation every single month. So just finding the people that have kind of been there, done that, relying on them, because again, we're going to make mistakes, but let's limit those mistakes by other people's experiences.
Absolutely. Where do you come up with the new weekly? So you're doing one a week, a new flavor, or are you?
Yeah. So
can you pick from 10 right now, or is it just that one per week?
We have 2 permanent flavors, and then we have 4 weekly rotating. So we're serving 6 cookies right now. Yeah, but I don't know, I would say maybe 70 recipes. Every single month, though, we do develop 2 brand new recipes. So of those 4 weekly rotating cookies, we want at least every other week, one of those to be a never release flavor. You slowly start getting, from 70, and then a few months later, now you're at 80, 90, 100, 200. We will always be creating brand new recipes to keep the customers coming back for more.
That's huge because like people want something different. Like if they've been at your store one time a week or ordering from it, for 13 weeks or whatever. I mean, who doesn't want a damn cookie, once a week on cheat or whatever it is, right? That's huge because it just keeps the excitement alive in people, right? And that's super smart.
You can go back to the same store and order the same product, but get a different flavor every single week. It's kind of like, oh, I'm kind of sick of, I've tried all the pizzas that Pizza Hut has to offer. Well, you will never try all the cookies because they're always changing and there's always new ones. So it has worked really well to get those repeat customers, as well as gifting. People love giving that because same thing. It's like, even if you gave them a box of cookies a few months ago, you give them to them again, they're brand new flavors. That's also a big, portion of the industry is gifting.
Are you going to have, you said 61 are brick and mortar, right? The brick and mortar, are they going to all offer delivery like the original place that you bought into?
A good 30% of the business is delivery.
Okay.
So and one thing that we're doing to kind of create a little bit more efficiency on that. If you've ever been to Little Caesars, they have a pizza portal. So you can walk into Little Caesars. You don't have to talk with anybody. There's a warmer. It's keeping your pizza warm. You get a code, you type in your code, the locker pops up and you grab it and you're gone. Third of the people that walk through our door aren't our customers. So they want a quick service and they just want to leave, right? So they don't necessarily want to talk with us and we don't want to talk with them necessarily either, right? That's just more time. That's more money. That's more labor. So this hasn't been developed yet, but it will be, I think on Friday, actually, these warming lockers. So these Uber Eats drivers could come in, get their cookies and they're gone. That's reducing labor on our front, but it's also providing a quicker, faster service to our customers because now they're going to get their cookies quicker. Because now this Uber Eats driver doesn't have to wait in line and then tell them their name and then you're going to go prep the cookies in the back, all of that. It's just ready to go. So awesome. Deliver a big portion.
Awesome. That's very cool. Let's shift gears a little bit. Can you go through like what your corporate or one of your corporate values is for your employees?
The mission of Dirty Dough, and not even just Dirty Dough, but my mission, and I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's all about helping myself and others live fulfilled, happy lives. And what's the best way to do that? Well, it's your mentality, right? You have really happy people that have nothing all around the world. And they're really content and they have really strong relationships and they're just happy. And then you have rich people that are getting divorced, committing suicide. You look at the suicide rates, it's typically wealthy white men. So happiness, I think, is more of a choice, but you have to learn how to do that proactively. Anyway, so that's what I want to do. I want to help myself do that. And I want to help as many people as possible. And so I'm using Dirty Dough as a vehicle to do that. And we kind of have 3 different customers that we're serving. Our first customers are franchisees. So I wanted to provide them with the most simple and easy to run franchise model that is very easy to scale. So you go from 1 to 10 stores. You don't just have to stick with one. And then it runs off very low cost. So it can be around for 40 years, like a Mrs. Fields, and it can create generational wealth. So that's how I'm trying to do that. And at the same time, we're lowering the barrier to entry. Most people didn't think they could own a business. Well, owning a business, a great starting point is you start a franchise, right? You still own it, but you're running a proven playbook. And this proven playbook now it's a lot less expensive to get into. And the knowledge and the requirement, you will never have to learn how to mix cookie dough because it's just not in the model. So trying to lower that barrier to entry. That's how we're serving kind of that first customer. Second customer is our employees and the employees of our franchisees. Everybody should be aware there's a very, very massive mental health crisis going on. And self-harm, suicide rates, they've over doubled in the last 10 years since social media came out. And it's just us comparing ourselves to what appears to be a perfect life and then saying, oh crap, I have flaws. So for me type of deal. It's very harming. So what Dirty Dough represents, and you look at our cookies and it's in the name Dirty Dough, right? Life is dirty and messy, but it's meant to be enjoyed, just like these cookies. And we use multi-layered cookies and their messaging behind that is what's on the inside that matters. who is affected most by this mental health crisis? Well, it's young women. Who works in a cookie shop? Well, it's young women, like 16 to 22-year-old girls. What better opportunity do we have to help and address this mental health crisis by being proactive about it than in these cookie stores? I know this really cool guy that gave me some sweet program. Name's Jeff. It was really exactly what we're looking for. I was like, how do we help these people? And then Jeff, you and I met, but it's a life guidance coach that they get paired with a life guide that has been through something similar to them. And it's focused on the mental health. Now, when we think mental health, we think anxiety and depression, which is included. What we don't think is all the proactiveness. What about quality sleep and eating habits and reaching peak performance, or dealing with financial stress, or being a minority, or single parenting? All of that's covered. There's like 50 different things. There's nobody in this planet that can read that list and say, oh, I don't need help with 5 of those things. So it's such a good service, and we're really excited to have that. So at a corporate level, we pay for that for all of our employees, but we also pay for it on a franchisee level. So every franchisee, as corporate, we pay that service for all of their employees. So same thing, wanting them, if happiness is a choice and a mentality, why doesn't anybody work on their mental health? We think mental health and we think depression, anxiety, therapist, but we're not thinking proactive. How do we choose to be happy? How do we have a happiness mindset? How do we practice meditation and being present in the moment and all these things, right? That we just not taught. So anyways, I'm giving you like the longest winded answer in the world. And I'll keep the last one really short. The third layer is just our general customers. And that's the messaging that we're pushing out of kind of come as you are, what's on the inside that matters most. But we're also building wellness centers in high schools, junior highs, and in elementary schools. So K through 12, we fund for them to convert an old school room, an old classroom, into a wellness center that's focused on teaching kids how to be proactive with their mental health. So they can jump in there, grab an iPad, and start practicing breathing exercises and actually see the change in their physiological state. They're breathing correctly and they're practicing guided meditation and these other things. So anyways, that's kind of the big vision. Why I'm doing what I'm doing with Dirty Dough is to serve those 3 customers, and hopefully we can make an impact.
And you already are. Obviously, with that mission and vision, you've got 65 sold already, and it really has only been a couple months since you started selling. So you've got a great thing going, and I totally am on board with any company that loves their employees and wants to do more for their employees, whether it's mental health or anything. But to be honest with you, like, mental health is the thing that nobody wants to talk about. And the reason why I sell that, and this is not a plug, this is the true reason, is a lot of my clients on the benefit side, they have an EAP system, but that EAP system, you literally call somebody up, like, if guys or gals, it doesn't matter, right? If somebody needs that system and all of a sudden they're on the phone and say, well, we have an opening 3.5 months from now, is that going to work? No, that's not going to freaking work. If you're to the point where you need to call and get help, you need help right now.
Yep.
And that's where the life guides and we're doing that way, way proactively, like you are in schools. And man, I appreciate you doing that so much, because it's not talked about. Nobody wants to talk about, and you're being super proactive. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Let's shift gears here. Obviously you've had some pretty good mentors. Who's maybe 1 or 2 of your mentors? We're going to go into some books as well, but name 1 or 2 of your mentors and what they help you or have helped you with.
So going from I'm an individual sales rep, maybe manager managing a few dozen people, to actually owning a business. My brother, he's 13 years older than me, and he's the one that I partnered with. I have lots of brothers, but that was the one that I partnered with solar. He purchased a franchise, actually a Signs by Tomorrow franchise, in his early 20s. And he just only worked for himself and been an entrepreneur the whole time, multiple different businesses. So the fact that I got to team up with him, I learned a lot of really, really good, valuable information and how to run a business and how not to run a business. So I would say that was a huge help and a huge mentor. And then the second one, right after I sold the business, I took a startup ignition course, or that was the branding startup ignition, thinking, I just sold a business. I know business. No, I didn't know anything. I mean, I learned a lot from my brother on how to run it, but like the intricacies and the ins and outs of business and stocks and the employees and anyways, just vesting periods and advisory boards. The guy's name is John Richards. He took a company called InfoSpace. He took that public maybe in 2000. Since then, he's invested in lots of different companies, and a lot of them have had really big exits, 100 million plus. I mean, several companies. So he's been really, really great resource to kind of, of how do you run a company that's worth $500 million or $1 billion, and how do you get there? Same thing. He's kind of been there, done that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So both of those guys.
When you said that you were around business people like your brother, but you didn't really know anything. And that's like a gold nugget for me, because of the fact that I had a business through 2000, 2008, and then up until like 2016, 2017, I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. I mean, I had a mentor, but not a coach. And that mentor said, why don't you get yourself a sales coach? And I'm like, oh, what the hell do I need a sales coach for? I've never even, like, we're crushing it. I don't need that.
Yeah.
But then I hired a sales coach, and then I a couple years later, got into some networking groups, and I'm like, man, I don't know shit, to be honest with you. Like, and at the time, like, I'd been in business for 17, 18 years myself. It's amazing when you're open to more information and that you don't really know what's going on. Man, I could have crushed it. I mean, and we did. I could have really crushed it in like 2003, 2004 had I had a mentor or a sales coach to say, listen, you should do this, and this is the pitfalls over here. Here's the landmines you're going to come across. That's amazing that you're still in your 20s, right?
Just hanging on. I'm 29.
Okay. But still, that's awesome, because to be honest, like, I went through my 20s and 30s knowing that I knew everything and was not open to any outside criticism or anything like that, right? And now at 29, knowing that you have the mindset of you want to be a sponge and you want to learn from tons of people, that's amazing, man. I applaud you for that. So
I've been doing business, so I know how to run a business, is completely separate from I know how to run, an 8 or 9 or 10 figure business and scale it. Because I think my brother taught me how to run a business, but what I hadn't learned yet was, how to run, a 9-figure business and how to really scale that, because you should have an advisory board, right? And you should have, if you have partners, it should all be subject to vesting, and all your employees should have stock options that are also subject to vesting. Well, I didn't even know what any of that was. And then now it's like, okay, now we can go get top talent. I mean, how else do you land people with really top talent unless you have all this kind of figured out? It's like, we'll look at the other people, and it's kind of like an upward spiral. It's like, well, this guy's awesome. And then other people are like, oh, well, if he believes in you, then maybe I will too. And then you get another all-star on your team. You get another all-star. And then it just slowly goes up from there. But no, it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. I ask this question all the time as well, and we'll only do it with like 2 people, but name 2 people that are either here or have passed that you would like to sit down and have like a 3-hour meal with and just pick their brain.
Elon Musk. That's my guy. I'm a Elon Musk fanboy.
That's awesome.
I feel like his companies are changing the world. I mean, electric vehicles, that's Elon Musk. Like, he's changed the world with that. Solar, that's Elon Musk. They bought, Solar City, and now Tesla's doing some cool stuff with solar as well. Neuralink, is that the one that it's called? They're putting chips in people's brains so paralyzed people can now walk again. Again, who's doing that? Going to space, making, humans of a multi-planetary species. Like, that's cool stuff. That is the internet one. He's giving internet to like half the Starlink.
Yep.
So yeah, there's Starlink and there's Neuralink. I mean, look at it. It's crazy. If you did one of those things, that's awesome, because you're changed the world. He's doing them all. So he's definitely the number one.
Yeah. So who would be the second one?
Let me think about the second one. I love him so much that
that's okay. You could take 6 hours with him.
I'm going to take 6 hours with my boy, Elon.
That would be cool. How does somebody get a hold of you? Like, if they're thinking, hey man, I was going to jump into this other franchise, or if I wanted to invest in something that is going to be a little bit more passive, but yet they still got to run it, right? Do multiples of what you're doing with Dirty Dough Cookies. How do they get a hold of you, and what's the best way?
I have a website, bennettmaxwell.com. So BENNETTMAXWELL. And there you can connect with me on any social media. I try to post every day on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Try to put out valuable content of what's going good, what's not going good in the businesses, things like that. That's the best way. You can also email me from there. And then our website for the company, if it's more about franchising, is dirtydoughcookies.com. And then there's a franchise link. It's also on my website though. So either one.
Awesome. Bennett, it has been awesome to have you. The honor is all mine, man, because the first time that I met you down in Dallas, it's like you have just such a energy and passion about what you do, and to help people with the mental health, that's just a huge bonus for me, man. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for being a guest.
Appreciate it. I love being on. Thanks,
everybody. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend.